Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well today. I'm glad to see there's such a big turnout. See a few familiar faces and a whole lot of new ones. Anyways, I work with Plentyoffish. My name is Kim. I manage the advertising platform at Plentyoffish as well as a few other areas in the business, but that's what you guys are here for today, so that's what I'll talk about. Plenty of tactics, tricks, and opportunities. So I thought I'd entertain you guys a little bit and figure out who your sugar daddy is. Ultimately, who's paying you guys? The networks. So many affiliates out there deal with one network, one affiliate manager that they've managed to build a rapport with. If you look up here, and hopefully it's clear to everyone in the back row because my contacts need to be upgraded and I can't see it over there. But I tried not to pick on any networks here, tried to be fair to everybody. If you look down the board, you've got Neverblue outpaying, you've got ClickBooth, you've got EWA on the Dream Marriage. They're over double the payout of some of the other networks on there. Shop around. Figure out who's going to be able to offer you guys the most amount of money for what you're trying to seek out. And yes, I know we're a dating site, but it's not all dating related. We've got Idlewhite, one of the tooth whitening campaigns here. EWA, I don't mean to put them out there, but they're almost double what Azoogle pays. It's unbelievable how much revenue you guys can make from shopping around and figuring out which networks work or pay out more. And chances are you can even try to bug your network if you have one that you've got a good affiliation with and get them to pay you more because they don't want you going to somebody else. Ultimately, what gets you to a conversion and what gets you to that payout? A click. How do you get clicks? Put a call to action. Tell someone to join something. Tell someone to sign up. Put an email in. Pay now. You'd be surprised at how high your CTR will get from just a small couple little words. There you go. There's a couple of examples. Again, I think I've made those too small for you guys to see, but join Plentyoffish. Sign up now. It's free. What are you waiting for? Put your branding in. Branding is so important. Put your URL, put your website, put your company name, whatever you can do. We see for every person that clicks on one of our ads at Plentyoffish, 3 more people visit our site that aren't recorded from a click. We can see through view-throughs and other metrics, but branding is unbelievably important. I'll come back to that in a second. But include information about the person you're targeting. I know a lot of sites are getting in trouble right now for their targeting capabilities. And what they're doing, but someone like a Facebook, you can't necessarily point out that the person you're with is a 30-year-old female that's single, but you can ask if they're looking for a date tonight. You say, oh, if you're trying to find a date this weekend, there's lots of ways where you can get around trying to pull information about who that user is that you know you can target. So try to kind of push the boundaries there. Facebook will allow some things. We allow a lot more. Dynamic insertion tags. I know there's quite a few publishers out there that are starting to offer dynamic insertion tags. Ours, for example, age, gender, state. This is something that I'm not trying to flog Plentyoffish. Obviously, I have an affiliation with them. But age, gender, and state. Instead of you having to write in your ad, are you interested in dating? You could say, you're a 31-year-old female in California. CTRs? There's 2 examples of ads here, again, probably too small for you guys to see. But the top ones and the bottom ads are pretty much identical in the offers they're running, what they're saying in them, but the CTRs are double. So the one on the far right, the CTR for the top campaign is 0.278. The bottom one that includes some form of a dynamic insertion tag is 0.515. It's double. Well, not quite, but depends on whose math you're doing. Frequency capping, another big one. Our average, we say between 3 to 5 times per day or per session is probably good. A lot of people forget about frequency capping. If you narrow down to 3 to 5 ads per day to one person, it makes a big difference. You don't want that person seeing 30 of your ads. They don't care. If they've seen it 5 times and they haven't clicked, chances are they're not going to click. You can also set up 2 different types of campaigns. One with a really tight frequency cap and a higher CPM, and then come in and do another campaign at a low frequency, a high frequency cap and a low CPM. So frequency cap it at 10 and put it in there at 20 cents. instead of a frequency cap of 3 at 60 cents. The 4 Bs, back to that big old branding one. What can you do? As I mentioned before, your website, your company name. We ran a case study with a company called Blow. I don't know how many of you guys out here know about Blow. I'm from Vancouver, and it's a Vancouver company, but they're starting to branch out. They're in New York, San Francisco, Toronto, and Vancouver. They are a blow-dry salon, not your typical hairdresser. They don't cut your hair, they just blow it dry. So we ran a test case with them. They ran standard IAB ads, the 300s. They ran the smaller ad units. We started advertising them on June 6th. We ran them for 3 weeks. Finished June 26th. This is their page views. They went from having about 12,000 a day to when I put this presentation in, they were about 87,000. They're now at 120,000 page views. We ran them for 3 weeks. The clicks here, they didn't do very well. Their CTR was pretty bad. They didn't have more than maybe 20, 25 clicks per day. Yet the branding that was associated with seeing the ads all around our site led to an increase in page views. I don't even know what percentage increase that is, but essentially a 10,000% increase, something along those lines. Anyway, so it just shows you exactly how clicks don't mirror conversions and clicks don't show you everything you need to know about your data. So we spent $479 on this campaign. Their CPC, I said, is horrible. It was about $1.40. Most of you guys probably would have turned that campaign off after a day. We ran about 900,000 impressions, 50 cents, and they're at 120,000 page views right now. And they're still growing, and we haven't advertised them for over a month now. Almost 2 months now. After branding, bidding. I know there's a few bloggers out there. You've got Lorenzo Green, and I have spoken quite a few times and talked about this. Bidding on the 5-cent increments. 77% of the advertisers on our site are bidding in 5-cent increments. 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, 25, 30, you name it, that's where everyone's bidding. They don't think about increasing it to 36, 37, 38, and how much more traffic they're going to see because they're not competing against the 30 other people that all of a sudden came in and want to bid at 30 cents. Here's our spend in Canada per CPM. Highlights that exactly. 40 cents, 45, 50, 55. There's peaks. 1 penny later, it drops down. You don't have anybody spending at that. So why not, your ROI is going to be minimally impacted with a penny, yet you're going to see so much more volume. Just everyone's in tuned and used to bidding in those 5-cent increments, so they do it. Banners, one that we love. You've got the lovely Plentyoffish banners that don't do so well. And you've got our ugly ones that do phenomenally well. I've started seeing this with affiliates now. They're not taking what the networks and what these companies can provide you as banners as being the standard. They're creating their own. Get into Photoshop. Try something different. Don't stick with what these networks are giving you and what these companies are giving you. The top one is what you typically see. It failed miserably, and our graphic designer, who's here with us at this conference, hates it. Because Marcus, the founder of the company, said, there's no way your ad's going to do better than mine. And it didn't. And she wants to throw all of her schooling out the window now. And burnout. A lot of people are content with throwing an ad up on their offer and saying, you know what, it did well. I made a couple thousand, I made a couple hundred, I made $10, but ROI, perfect. And then they forget about it. One of our advertisers refused to throw up more ads because he had not a great CTR, but he had a high ROI and he liked it. It was at about 0.08. Not a great CTR at all. And then it started to drop and drop further and drop further to the point where it wasn't making any more money, and he gave up. I neglected to do this, but if you took a graph of a campaign in which someone had updated their creatives every 3 to 4 days, as you start seeing the burnout happening, it just goes up and down, and you start floating in the level where your ROI is positive. as opposed to this guy who is no longer advertising with us, and there's nothing we can do about that because they've refused to add more creatives. There's only so much one user wants to see the same ad. Ultimately, it's all about performance, though. So you want to track what your ads are doing. We do something at Plentyoffish that you guys can all do at home, so I'm going to use this as an example, but this is a tool we offer. It's something everybody here should be doing. Track your creatives. Figure out what their CTRs are. Understand how your creatives are performing. And this applies to us in Facebook, so we've got a similar model, but track your text. Don't stick with a creative that you think is great because it's performed well once. Stick that creative with 20 different text options. Maybe you'll find out it's the text that performed well, and that image could have been a lot better. So here you'll see some of the campaigns are converting at, oh God, those numbers are small. Sorry, guys. The CTRs, there's some of them at 0.2 and some of them are at 0.08. So why would you keep running the text that's at 0.08? And if you look at the images, it's the same. You've got a 0.07 and a 0.20. Why would you ever want to run the image that's at 0.07 when you've got 2 or 3 that are at 0.20? Here's a couple that we ran. Almost identical ads. The image shows a couple. Both images show a couple. They both have branding. There's Plentyoffish all over them. Yet one performed 5 times better than the other ad. Test. Figure it out. These are virtually identical. If you look, the wording is even the same across a lot of it. But 5 times, the one on the left was 5 times better than the other one. Segmenting. Another way to figure out what creatives are performing better than others across various groups. So test your demographics. This ad here performed miserably, 45 plus. Performed okay, 30 to 45. Performed extremely well, 25 to 30. Everyone in here, or I, wanted to turn it off after the first couple hours, let alone the first day. But when you start looking at which segments we're performing, this ad's been running for us for weeks, if not months now, because I keep losing track of time. And it's still performing well, the 25 to 30. But 30 plus, didn't get a single one. Something that we do that is unique to us because of the amount of demographic information that we have on our users is something called a Crosstab Report. I don't know how many people in here currently use Plentyoffish. I don't know how many people in here are aware of this feature. We launched it about 3 weeks to maybe a month ago. It essentially takes all the demographic information we have on our users and tells you who has converted and who hasn't based on that demographic information. So you can see here, again, I'm sorry, I think those are miserably small. But if you look at the 51 to 90-year-old age group, 87 people clicked. Out of those 87, 14 people converted. And then you go down to age 18 to 30, 83 people clicked. Pretty similar numbers, only 3 people converted. So you've got 2 options here. Exclude the 18 to 30-year-olds and just completely get rid of them from your campaign, or take the 51 plus, increase the CPM, and get more traffic. Your ROI is going to be a lot higher for that segment than it will be for anybody else. You still are getting conversions at the 18 to 30-year-old, but you don't want to pay more than 10 cents for them. But the 51 plus, you could pay 50 or 60 cents, and you're probably going to see a similar ROI. You've got body type, income, education type. Facebook, you can track some of this, not all of it, depending upon how you segment out your demographics. You can put your creatives into different age groups like this exact same Excel sheet and come up with your own numbers. It's not that difficult as long as you keep tracking everything. Marcus has drilled it into my head at this point. And we break it down for you. Smokers. Smokers, this is a different campaign than the one I just showed you, converted 25% of the time. Big and tall, BBW men and women, converted 18% of the time. You start finding groups and segments. You start being able to analyze the data and really come up with what works. It's kind of there's two different thoughts here. One, segment, figure out what areas work. With what we do, we say start wide and narrow it down. Go really broad and let us help you guys figure out what works. I'm getting through this really quickly. But before the questions, I figured everyone always wants to know why their ads got declined. You've got an inappropriate picture. And I'm sorry if anyone gets offended by these, but it's cleavage. More cleavage, kind of naked people, someone in their underwear, and dead ducks. Our users get offended by these images. These are all images that have been uploaded in our ad platform in the last 2 months. We will not accept these images, so don't try to put them through. You've got ads that confuse your users. You've got a play button. You've got a chat window in our colors. Yeah, that's not getting through. You're trying to put an ad that looks like a personals ad, and there's no way that that woman is 48. Let alone the fact that it's now a personals ad and it looks like it's part of our site. You're uploading the wrong size. This happens so often, and it's so frustrating. This is the size of the ad, and that's what people are trying to upload. I've talked to people at Facebook. Happens at Facebook. You think by this point everyone knows what Facebook's ad sizes are. You're missing information. In your ad, you say, oh, women from the US. Convert, please. And then you don't even put US in your targeting. And we're human. That's me on a bad day, when I'm sitting there trying to explain to affiliates why their ads get declined. We have a whole team of people approving and declining ads. Everyone has different opinions as to what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. Some days you might get approved, some days you might not. And we reserve the right to change the rules. Ultimately, one day your ad might be fine, the next it won't. It's the nature of being in this business. You never know what rules are going to be passed down, new complications that we face, the FTC coming on board with something different. We have to be compliant, and we're going to make sure that you guys are compliant as well. And why listen to us? Because I get to work with Marcus, who is awesome. He knows more in this industry than the majority of the people at this conference. He's been doing it for so long. He's got the $1 million AdSense check when nobody ever thought AdSense would work. And he still knows what he's doing. And why listen to me? Because I've got affiliates photoshopping my head on Lady Gaga. And the Asian guy dressed up as Beyoncé is our affiliate manager. So be sure to say hi to him at some point in this conference. Now, I know there's lots of questions. I know a lot of people asked me to leave time for Q&A. So go for it. Oh, you're supposed to text in, I believe. If anyone has a question or understands how to use this text-in feature. Because I certainly don't.
I tried it, the last one, it didn't work.
Hands up. Back to kindergarten. Does anyone have any questions?
On your, I use your platform. Are you seeing a higher click-through ratio on their larger images? You know, not many people get to spend a certain amount of money to get there. Than the regular with the text links, with the text, with the smaller images?
So the standard IAB units, you have to spend $1,000 in order to receive access to them. Those ad units, the CTRs, I think it's 0.01% higher on average. So no, it's not significant. But a lot of people get creative and try to throw up message chat windows and play buttons and things like that that obviously would see a higher CTR, but no. Oh, sure. He asked what the CTR difference was between the standard IAB units versus the smaller 110 by 80 with text beside it.
care how relevant the ads are in your site, or if they monetize well enough, or are you just happy to run?
There's a reason why. Sorry, there's a reason why we do CPM and not CPC or CPA or CPL. We want to provide you guys the tools to figure out how to monetize your ads better, which is why we're constantly coming up with new reports. Conversion tracking, the Crosstab reports, those are all tools that we're trying to provide you guys to really narrow down your traffic and figure out what is working best for you and what isn't, or what is and what isn't. We don't want to take it upon ourselves to say that one offer converts better with a particular demographic across the board, because that doesn't happen. Someone's going to convert better because the ad that you're showing to them relates more to them. It's that dynamic ad insertion tag works unbelievably well. I mean, you're seeing a double a CTR. I know CTRs don't necessarily mimic what the conversions are, but it's a pretty good indicator of if you are narrowing down who you're trying to target and what that ad says, you're really going to gain a lot more from it. Come on, you guys. There were some really hard questions earlier.
Do you guys plan to block out mobile users, or allow a function where we can block out mobile users? Because I noticed there's a lot of traffic coming from mobile users, which offer lower CTR or conversion.
So the question is whether or not we are going to be blocking out mobile users and segmenting them away from the traditional users. We are coming out with an iPhone app in the next week or two, which will not have advertising on it. So that'll take away all the iPhone users. But people that are getting clumped into that mobile category are also netbooks, iPads. Anyone that's using Wi-Fi is being clumped into that mobile category now with a lot of these third-party providers of, oh, here's where your traffic's coming from. So to say that 30% of our traffic, for someone who knows the data and sees where our traffic's coming from, it's a very, very small percentage. If you've ever tried to use our site on a mobile, you'll know it's not user-friendly. So the traffic that people are saying that they see coming through mobile isn't what they're actually seeing. There's no way people use our site that often. It's a lot of iPads, a lot of student Wi-Fi networks at universities, things like that. So to say that that traffic's coming from mobile and therefore the CTR is pretty low isn't indicative of mobile. It's indicative of the people that are using Wi-Fi. I was prepared to get grilled up here. Nothing else? Okay. I'll let you guys go early then. I get to go early.